What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be installing our new OE style STI wing for the BB chassis WRX. This will fit 22 all the way to 2025. As you can see, the base is a little bit different than our version 3s. The way it's set up is a little bit different. So Kevin at Ely Wraps today is going to show you guys how to install this. I will link this in the bio below as we have some coming and it will be limited stock, okay? Color match options, of course. And then we have our beautiful BB right here. Jerry, will you show them real quick? This is a 22 base model with our V2 OE style fender flare. So this car is doing a lot of OE stuff. Come to the back, so it's very, very clean. It's not widened like our V1, so if you want something like a little more OEM, you can check this out on the website. We have our S-style rear diffuser paired with our 4-inch axle back. Kevin's gonna show you guys how to put this new wing on.
Hey everyone, Kevin here. I'm here to go over how to install the new spoiler onto the BB WRX. So in the kit, it comes with these template pieces that make the installation that much easier. All you have to do is just line it up, mark your spots, and then enjoy your hose. Let's get into it. So for the top half, they give you this large template. For the inside of the trunk, they give you these two pieces that will fall into place underneath the trunk, and I'll go over how to use all three of these. Let's start with the top one. So with this template, first figure out which is the top corner, and in this template right now, the top corner is right here. So you just line it up to the trunk as such. It's really easy to follow just because if you currently look, I'm actually slightly off already, and then you can easily adjust. So you make sure you just overlap it. And then these are going to be the holes that you should be marking. To make everything easier, I'm going to put some masking tape underneath just so I can mark the tape instead of marking the trunk. After you have your masking tape, put your template over it, line it up again, and I'm happy with right here. And then you just take your Sharpie and just mark your spots. And then after you get your circles, next is do the same steps but for the other side. After you have everything marked, now comes the drilling. For this step, you only want to drill through one layer. So with trunks, they're made in multiple layers, but because we're just doing the top side, we're only going to make our initial hole. I'm going to drill the holes with a 732. So just drill the center. All right, after you have everything drilled on this side, repeat the process on the other side. Now that you have all your holes drilled on top, you can either remove the tape now or later. I like to leave the tape on until my end of the process because at the end, I like to size up the holes to match all throughout. And usually I size it up to 3/8. But I typically like doing this afterwards just because if you drill your holes too large, sometimes it kind of ruins the process. And so it's a lot easier to make your holes larger at the end as you need them. After you have all your holes drilled, next is to do the work underneath. Have the trunk open, now it's time to remove this cover. There are 9 clips that you need to remove, and you just use a flathead screwdriver. Super simple, just put it into a little guide, twist, and it'll just pop right off. All right, next step, you take the other template. It's a little hard to figure out which one's left and right, but they only line up one way. So you take the template, and for this one, it would be on the passenger side. It just sits right over this. Where these holes are, that's where you're supposed to drill. And so typically I would put a piece of tape just so it'll help me hold everything in place. After you have everything aligned, it should fall in like a glove. Drill the holes that are already there. For this step, I will be using a 3/16 drill bit. Okay, after you have your holes drilled, repeat the steps on the driver's side. For the driver's side, it's a little more involved. You're gonna need a pry tool just to pull out this clip in order for this to sit in place, which I've already done so. After you drill your holes, you can remove the template. If your initial hole is drilled, next is to use a 3/4 hole drill, just to give yourself a axis hole, like this one, for example. You can see directly into it where you're supposed to feed the hole. And you just move on to the other one, that's such. For this guy up here, for down here, you only drill through one layer of metal. For here, you're going to have to drill through 2 layers of metal. As you can see, I drilled through 2 layers of metal, and then you can see the hole on the other side. And then just repeat the process on the other side. After you're done making your holes, you want to inspect everything just to make sure everything lines up. And then you can actually reconnect this piece if you want, because it's not needed anymore. After you double check to see all your holes line up, next is to move back to the top. And now in this step, I'm going to widen my holes to 3/8. Now now that we have all the holes drilled, it's time to start attaching the bases, and then after the base, we're attaching the top. Remove the tape first. All right, now we're back over here at the spoiler. It requires a little prep work before we can move back to the trunk. In this new design, it's technically 5 pieces, but it's a 3-piece design. Essentially, each base has their own spot as well as a cover afterwards. In this step, I'm going to be putting in the studs, but prior to that, I will be also putting Loctite just to make sure the studs are secure and doesn't back out on its own. So you just have to dab a little blue Loctite. Blue's preferred in this case, little Loctite, and then just thread it in. And then the tool to use to screw it down, it's a size 4mm hex. Put in, next is to put the double side tape. In this step, it's always preferred to clean your surface just so the double side tape can stick a lot better. So in this step, right, I like to use isopropyl alcohol at 70% just to clean up the surface, just so the double side tape can mate to the surface a lot better. So after we have everything mounted, stuffed on, it's time to test fit onto the trunk now, just to make sure everything lines up, and as it should line up perfectly. And then you can just double check on the inside to see all your studs go through. After you make sure everything fits, next is time to remove the double side tape. When you have everything in, you don't have to press it down yet. You can actually just tie in the screws so it can actually stick on itself. I usually like to tilt the trunk a little just so the nut doesn't fall out. You have everything tying down. Next is to actually put the spoiler on top, and it just sits like that. So after you place the spoiler on top of the bases, next you use supply screws. It's going to be 3 on each side that you're going to put on. Depending on how permanent you want this, it's always better to use a little Loctite just to secure the nuts into it. Now that I have the screws tying down inside the baser here, it's time to put the covers on. There are distinguishing marks to know whether the stuff are right. So this one's going to be on the driver's side. I'm going to start the driver's side first since we're already here. Now that I have everything tying down, next is time to put the cover back on and then clean up whatever you need to clean up, and then we're all good to go.
We just finished the install. Like I said, if you guys need to install any kind of installation on VB parts or type art, whatever, you know, Kevin here at ELRES will take care of for you. But you can see the OE style wing looks very similar to our V3 wing and V1. The only difference is the bases are differently. The way we mount is a little differently. So if you want this, you know, 1 piece on the top, and because our V3 is actually a 5-piece setup, so this is a 3-piece setup. For those preferences, so this is available. We have some coming in already in the next container, so if you're interested, check the link below, get the pre-orders in, and then now it looks a lot finished, you know, a lot more clean. We're gonna have him come back and install the rear color match bumper that will be out end of this year. But guys, hope you enjoyed today's install video. I know it's been a while since we did an install video. If you want more installation videos, you can check out the list below of all the parts that we have on this car. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.